The traditional intro song. You know, I heard this song. I heard this song on someone else's podcast for a grade school somewhere, and I was like, I guess I'm not the only one that found that red button on this particular device that we got the Rodecaster. But you know, we like to start with a little music anyway.
I mean, hey, sometimes great minds think alike.
That's correct. Yeah. All right, I'm going to fade this out, and we'll do a little intro. So today I am joined by my friend Josh Carroll, who is a member of the support staff here at Reavis. He's joining us to share his story. It is also National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, the month of March. I usually say I met a new friend 5 minutes ago, but I've known Josh now for at least 2 years. Welcome to the... Well, what are we calling this, Josh?
The CommsClubCast.
The CommsClubCast, right? Yeah, that's about it. And Josh is co-sponsor of our communications club. His department, as far as the podcast goes, is he brings the enthusiasm. So he is Captain Enthusiasm with booking our guests and bringing them in as often as possible. So welcome, Josh. How are you today?
I'm not going to lie. This feels like an episode of Inception.
Well, I'm not sure.
If you know, you know.
I'm not sure.
If you know, you know.
I think people out there know. I don't know. Deception.
Inception, the movie. Like being a guest on my own podcast.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Inception. Yes. Now I do understand. I thought you said Deception, and it was a game show that I've never seen before.
Nah, man.
Yeah, it sounds like
thank you so much for having me.
From the 90s. You got it, man. So why don't we get started where you can talk to us a little bit about your background, your story. Yes, take it away.
Yes, as Mr. Coombs just said, this is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, and of course, I have cerebral palsy. I don't necessarily think of it as a disability. I think of it as a different ability.
This happens right around birth or right around just shortly after being born. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Essentially, in my case, at least this is what my mom has told me. A nerve popped in my brain. A lot of times, one side is weaker than the other. In my case, it's my left. And, you know, it varies in terms of severity. That's the word I was looking for. You know, some have it like super mild cases. Others end up being put in wheelchairs, unfortunately. And then it also caused my partial symptomatic epilepsy, which of course epilepsy has a lot to do with seizures. I luckily have not had a seizure since 2002, knock on wood. But there's a lot that, you know, goes into, you know, protecting yourself, making sure one doesn't get brought on. I remember being in my flame pajamas. Yes, oddly specific, I know. And then, you know, I found myself kind of like shaking in the ambulance. And then the next thing I know, I woke up with something on my finger, which I now know is a pulse monitor. You know, that's kind of how scary it was, you know?
What age were you when that happened?
6 years old.
So at 6 years, so you haven't experienced or had to go through that since you were 6. That was the last time you remember that happening.
Yes, thankfully no. And, you know, it can be brought on at any moment from like flashing lights or certain triggers, and even like fevers if they get too high.
Do you know what triggered it in that particular case, or you don't?
I don't remember exactly what triggered it. I just remember vividly kind of what happened in the environment I was in, you know?
Yeah. It's got to be a scary situation, right?
Yeah, very much so.
I know that you were a Reavis student. You graduated from Reavis, and now you work here. So tell us a little bit about your experience as a high school student here at Reavis versus your experience now. What are your goals? What are you looking to do here?
First of all, when I was a student here, you know, it was some of the best years of my life. It's where, you know, I found my love for radio. For those who don't know, Back then, there was a radio station here called WRHS. What worked then is kind of what we do now, just in terms of podcasting. We had our own specialty shows. We would call football games, basketball games, and it was a very fun era. And like I said, it helped me discover my love for what I wanted to do. When I found out that WRHS no longer existed, therein lied one of my goals here. You know, with this podcast in particular, I essentially wanted to give the voices back to the kids. You know, their experiences deserve to be talked about, discussed, essentially, whatever they go through, I'm sure it feels good to get all that out, and just so they can see how loved they are.
Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. So really, not much has changed since back when you were in high school here, and we had a radio station, because now we're sort of bringing it back in a different form. So we've got some like this podcast where we have guests on, and there's audio and video, and we're having a conversation as though you were on a radio show, right? So it's kind of like the technology has advanced, the medium has advanced, but the core purpose of it is the same. Like we're hearing people's personal stories, we're engaging with each other and learning about our community, and that's a really powerful thing. So good timing. You experienced the radio aspect when you were a high school student, and now you're able to bring that passion, that enthusiasm for creating that sort of thing back to the students, and they're just experiencing it with a different vehicle, but the point is the same.
I was able to, apply to Columbia College and get my BA in radio. And during my time there, I had gotten experience via internship with stations like The Loop, WLS AM and FM, and ESPN 1000 at the time. So in a sense, a lot of my experience there translated well to here inadvertently.
Yeah, it's all kind of like the universe sort of like coming full circle in the experience you had in high school and the things you were enjoying about that experience. You then carried into your post-high school education at Columbia, where you majored in communications radio, and then those internships brought that experience, and now you're able to come here, and it just so happens that when you got here 2 years ago was when we were in the process of starting up what we're doing currently right now. So, everything happens for a reason. It's all good.
Oh, absolutely, man. To this day, I feel I'm meant to be here. I have a purpose here. And, and funny thing is that this is where I wanted to be when I first started to become a paraprofessional, and I just feel like it was the perfect time for me.
You don't look at your condition, the cerebral palsy condition, as you said, I don't look at it as a disability. I look at it as a different ability. Can you get a little bit more into how you frame that in your mind? Because I know that a lot of people become overly focused on the things that they don't have, the things that they can't do, and that can become a kind of a dark place. And I think that one of the things that you bring to the table and that people could learn from you is that you are an overly positive person. So you don't view it as things you don't have. You focus on the things that you are able to achieve in your goals and your purpose, as you said.
Yeah, I can sort of speak to both sides on it. When I was growing up, I was kind of bullied a lot. For whatever reason it was, I don't know. I don't ever want to find out, even though it would be nice to kind of get that closure, but I'm here now, aren't I? I was essentially called very bad words that I don't want to repeat here. At the time, I didn't know, what they meant, but I could sort of sense that they were kind of bad language,
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of essentially learned to kind of use that as fuel for what I wanted to do. And that's why I see it as a different ability, because I'm not here letting it define who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how everyone should feel, whatever you have going through, just know you are meant to be here. Don't let your experiences define who you are. You know what your purpose is. Go after it.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, really some wisdom, I think, that you could pass on, because, we all go through stuff, right? We all have a different story. We all go through different challenges. It's the people that let those limitations and those challenges define them and hold them back and hold them down, versus the people that are able to overcome them and sort of reframe them and use them. I know a big part of what you do also is you're heavily involved in sports. You're in Special Olympics and you compete in various things. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure that experience has helped you along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've been in Special Olympics overall since I was 6 years old, 2002. And yeah, I know. I'm not that old.
You're not that old compared to me, Josh. Yeah, you've got that going for you.
Facts. Anyway, I'm a 3-sport athlete, basketball, baseball, and swimming. I've won a lot. I've lost a lot in terms of, medalage. But at the end of the day, what Special Olympics did for me is it helped to give me the confidence that I needed to truly be myself and be the leader that I wanted to be in this world in all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm forever indebted to it.
Well, I mean, that's it, right? Like a lot of times people that are faced with physical challenges that you have to overcome, people that are faced with those kind of rule out the idea of participating in competitive sports, right? You would say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't be that because of my limitations. But you found another way. Like you're doing the same thing that other competitive athletes are doing. You just found a different way of doing it, a different vehicle to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And I can relate to that exactly. Because when I first started swimming, I was afraid of heck of drowning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it was just like, the deeper waters, like when you're getting into like 12, 13, 14 feet of water in that area as a kid, you don't know what's going to happen, but at least in your mind. But, luckily I had a very good instructor that helped me overcome that fear. And now I'm able to swim, 25, 50, 100 meters without really stopping,
So you started with swimming, and then what was the next sport that you picked up?
It was swimming, then baseball, then basketball in that order.
And how about what we're doing here with the Communications Club and the podcast and just that sort of media in general? Where would you like to see that grow in the next few years?
You've seen the reach that we've been getting on some of these episodes, and it's essentially leading to a bigger subscriber count on YouTube. So, sometimes they say quality over quantity, which is true in some things, but if the quality keeps increasing with each episode, more people are going to watch it. So I definitely think it'll be more organic than anything.
I think what is important is that it's that the content is genuine, right? That we're putting out things that we feel strongly about, we feel good about, and we're giving students a platform to get on here and just have a real conversation with people, right? And
yeah, for sure,
if 50 people watch it and it strikes a chord with 50 of them, then that's better than 5,000 people watching it and, kind of half paying attention and ignoring it. All right, Josh. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the show and, sharing your story and just having a conversation.
Keep fighting every day to be the best version of you guys as possible. And I will do the same because that's my ultimate goal here. I want to be a walking example to everyone involved.
And if you guys see Josh in the hallway approaching you, he's probably going to ask you if you want to be on a podcast. So just be ready for that.
That's a
fact. Yeah. And if you don't want to be on a podcast and you see Josh in the hallway, say hi, Josh, and then run the other way because he will be asking you at some point if you want to be on a podcast.
Persistence is key.
Yes. Captain Persistence and Captain Enthusiasm. All right, everybody. That'll do it for this one. Thank you to Josh. Little outro music. We'll see you in the next one.
Appreciate y'all.
All right.